Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to part 5 of our look at Strategic Command World at War, a brand new grand strategy game out, made by Fury Software and published by Matrix and Slitherine Games. The game launches today, so I wanted to go ahead and return to that, just because, again, today's launch day. We have a series that's been going on. We're part 5 in the series, and I thought it would be a good time to return to that series. This was streamed from a couple of days ago, so just sort of keep that in mind. But with that being said, we'll just turn it over to myself. This is picking up at the start of that stream, and we're a couple of hours into the game. We're on the verge of invading France. We're returning to Strategic Command World War II World at War today. This is going to be looking at probably the invasion of France. We did a stream that was about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, maybe a week ago or so, which is looking at this game, and we played through early 1939. We're into early 1940. We're on the verge of invading France. Poland has fallen, Norway has fallen, Denmark has fallen to the Germans. Meanwhile, the Japanese have taken Nanjing in the south of China, as well as Changsha, and they're threatening to drive into the interior of China. It is still about a year and a half before the U.S. gets involved, and it is still a little while before I think we have to worry about the Russians being involved. But we have the German military on the border of France. It is May 10th, 1940. So basically, it is the moment ready for the moment ready. It is the moment for the Axis powers to begin their invasion of Europe, of Western Europe. And the conquest of France. We could wait, but if we wait, then it's going to be June by the time we get to go again because of the way this two-turn system works. So I'd rather not wait that late into 1940. So we'll get the invasion started here momentarily. I do want to... Forgot you had this on sudden THG. Oh, I'm glad I could surprise you there, Tortuga. So we'll be getting the attack on the Western Theater off in just a moment. I believe we saved... Yeah, we did. Okay, so we saved our last episode after already conducting our turn for the Chinese theater for the Japanese. So as you can see here, we've taken Hanyang. We actually haven't taken Changsha yet. I'm sorry, I misspoke. We have taken Hanang and we've taken Nanjing, and we have Kuilin surrounded, with sort of a potentially the city of Changsha is flanked. Meanwhile, you can see throughout the rest of this theater here, the Chinese are kind of being held in place ever so slightly by our forces, our Japanese forces here. Our aircraft, can they reinforce? No. Can we upgrade? No. Alright, so I've already issued essentially my orders to the Japanese. I think the only thing I haven't done is... I hate to keep deploying more and more troops of Japan to China because it really does become a manpower sink. But on the flip side of that, I also don't want to undercommit. The thing is, I need to have sufficient resources available to strike out against the Western allies in and around Singapore and Pearl Harbor and the American islands and the Philippines. And if I all of a sudden pull a ton of troops out of China, that'll endanger my ability to do that. On the flip side, otherwise these troops are just going to be sitting in Japan doing nothing. So I do think maybe we'll bring these guys out as well. So let's go ahead and transport. And where do we want these soldiers to go? Where's our best chance of success? Probably in the south of China, I would think. So we'll go ahead and deploy them. On the southern coast. We'll advance them in through north from Canton to the southern flank of Changsha. They're special forces, for what it's worth. Meanwhile, Japan has a reasonable amount of money, so does Germany and Italy, but we're going to wait to do a bunch of investments in both of those countries' militaries until after the success, hopefully, at the invasion of France. The one thing I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and transport this Garibaldi headquarters. I'm going to send them via ship to North Africa and land them there. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this additional corps of troops and send them ashore as well. Italy needs to get as many troops as they can support into the Middle East, I think. So we are spending a lot of our money as Italy transporting these troops to the front. But we need basically some headquarters units here to provide the necessary supply to those troops so that they're able to effectively fight. Additionally, since we are going to be going to war in France here, I want to kind of consolidate my navy into a defensive position in the Adriatic, because I'm assuming Italy will go to war as well. So we're going to go ahead and bring our cruisers and battleships up here into the Adriatic in one sort of fist of the fist of God, into one sort of fist ready to strike in a sort of coherent and unified front. And yeah, so ideally we'd have another army in Italy, or in North Africa, than we have right now. These guys, I think, are going to go defend Tripoli in case the French get aggressive. I think our naval units for Germany have all already moved, including these beat-up subs. We did have some subs escape to Norway, which we've taken. Trondheim, we're going to go ahead and max out its reinforcements. Let's reinforce all these garrisons in Norway. It does cost a bit of money, but I just want to make sure that the enemy can't do any like surprise raids or anything there effectively. There's our surface fleet. So I think we're ready here to launch the invasion of France. So let's go ahead and do that now. And the way we're going to do that is we're just going to go into the diplomacy screen. We're going to go ahead and declare war belligerently against the Belgian government, which is to the north. You see they're 0%. They're completely neutral. But we're going to go ahead and declare war on Belgium. And then we're also going to go ahead and declare war on Holland. I think we got to scroll down to do, or the Netherlands. They're actually pretty close to joining the Allies, so they'll be 100% here after this declaration. So we're now at war with the Dutch and the Belgians, and you can see here all of their soldiers appear on the map here. They're not fully mobilized. They're not totally ready for war, but they just showed up here. We're going to go ahead and have our Stukas dive bomb some of these enemy soldiers in their forts, maybe to open up the way for our tanks without having to engage them with actual tanks. So you can see there they did quite a bit of damage here. They all but destroyed them. I think we probably could finish them off with a fighter strafing run against these guys. Yes, we can. Huzzah! So we just destroyed that first Belgian unit here on the border, and we still have 2 more Stuka units that can bomb the enemy. So I think we'll go ahead and bomb this headquarters unit. Again, British interceptors flying up to be annoying. -3. And then yet another Stuka raid against this headquarter unit. There we go. All right, so we destroyed that Belgian headquarters unit, so our Stukas are doing their job. You know who we didn't declare war against? We didn't declare war against Luxembourg, which is going to be a little bit of a hindrance as well. So let's go back to diplomacy and do that. Got to make sure we declare war on everybody that we need to declare it on, so we've got that clear path around the French flank. I don't think the Luxembourgians don't have any forces here to oppose us. Meanwhile, I'm not sure if bombing any of these cities really has much of an impact. Maybe Antwerp, but we're going to take that here without a fight. So I'm not sure what we want to do there. I guess we'll use these bombers against these infantry up here, these Dutch infantry. These guys can't reach quite that far. They'll bomb these Belgian infantry there. Alright, so go ahead and move our paratroopers in. These guys hadn't prepared for airdrops, so they just moved in as infantry. So the north of Holland has fallen. I don't think they can fly any further than that, so these guys are going to drop here. Paratroopers suffer losses during landings. We'll go ahead and destroy that enemy fighter unit here. And then these infantry will move forward this way. Destroy these guys. Ah, they didn't quite get them. Do we have another fighter unit that can... No, I think all of our fighters... Oh, they didn't move, but they can't reach it. I didn't have my aircraft ideally placed. Alright, so that infantry will finish those guys off. These guys will come down here and finish off this unit. And I think Holland has already fallen now. We've taken the entire nation of Holland here with ease. I also think that means their navy goes away, so that should be easier to deal with. I'm kind of tempted to move our navy in to engage them, just so we kind of get experience for our ships. So we'll move them in. We did lose some casualties, so maybe that's not wise. But I do think getting our naval vessels some actual combat experience so they can kind of up some of their experience stars might not be a terrible idea. So we just destroyed that Dutch destroyer. We're not going to bother with their cruiser. Alright, so move this infantry here. Attack. And do we want to pull them back? I'm not really sure. Move that corps in here. A lot of our troops can't make it to the front line as is. So we moved our mechanized infantry in here. They destroyed the Belgian units in Antwerp. And then they'll also hopefully destroy that fighter unit there. So the mechanized troops, just like tanks, can actually shoot twice in a single turn. So we'll go ahead and move forward there. We'll go ahead and move our armor. Can these guys... Damn, I can't really attack anyone that I want to attack. It looks like we're going to have to settle for taking Belgium. Getting our panzers into action here as we attempt to swing around the enemy flank, but they actually have quite a strong force there. All I have is corps here, so I don't want to attack the Maginot Line or Strasbourg. And this armor won't do much against this enemy infantry. So I think we'll fly some of our aircraft a little bit closer to the border here. So a lot of these units already moved, but I'm moving them a little bit closer to... What did I just do? Just flew them over there for the heck of it. Fly them a little bit closer to their potential targets. Also, I think I'm short a headquarters, so I'm going to operate these guys back. Because I think I need more headquarters. Fly these guys over here. Alright, so I think that about does it for the first turn of the invasion of France. Belgium and Holland have fallen, so that's a pretty good start to the war against France. We don't quite have a breakthrough to Paris yet, but hopefully we'll manage that next turn. Meanwhile, on the Italian front, they're not at war with France yet, so we'll just kind of use what we have left here as our experience points to reinforce some of our soldiers. I don't think we get the supply benefit here yet of having the headquarter unit in North Africa. So we'll leave that as is. And I also think I need to kind of set the convoy mode here to raider for these surface ships to do anything. Of course, none of my ships are currently on the convoy routes, so that doesn't really matter this turn. But I was misusing my my surface raiders up to this point. But But yeah, let's go ahead and move forward to the next turn, I think. So we'll see how the Allies respond to our invasion of France. French morale suffers from the German blitzkrieg. Belgium surrenders. We plundered 109 industrial points from Belgium. Luxembourg surrenders. Plundered 14 from them. Holland surrenders, or the Netherlands surrenders, and we plundered 95 industrial points from them. So now that Norway has surrendered, we need to reconsider the current convoy route from Narvik. Essentially, we can either move this convoy route to a more defensible location, but it's closed certain times of the year, or keep it where it is. Now, if we say basically redo our convoy route, then what that basically will do is it'll lower the value of the route, but it'll make it safer. I'm going to leave the convoy route as is to keep our potential income maxed out. But again, that does mean that it does make it more vulnerable to Allied raiding. So Iceland and the Belgian Congo, the Belgian Empire is joining the war against us, even though Belgium itself has surrendered. Refugees are blocking supply routes to the front, which is impacting the supply of the French forces. The fall of Belgium is causing morale of Belgian or of French soldiers to drop. We took this fort, I guess. You can see here our income. And we'll just have to wait to see what the enemy does. Just a lot of sort of morale impacts, but nothing else yet. Formation of the Home Guard boosts British morale. So the British are forming the Home Guard. And the Chinese are on the move. What's interesting is around this time also historically the Chinese did launch a couple of offensives, which I was completely unaware of. Alright, French submarines are attacking our cruisers, which retreated without loss. The other thing that I haven't done is my troops in Ethiopia are kind of screwed. Alright, British Lancaster bombers are attempting to hit the head of our invasion column there, and we're intercepting and inflicting losses on them, although we are losing some of our tanks as well. Same for some French bombers, which are trying to bomb some soldiers of ours. Now, these soldiers they were bombing were in trenches, so I don't really care if they're going to hit our fortified troops. Those aren't the ones that are going to be in maneuvers. Yeah, but I found it very interesting that the Chinese offensives of 1939, the fall and into the winter of 1939, pretty much never get talked about. I had never heard of it until I was watching World War II Day by Day, or whatever it's called, which is a series similar. It's made by some of the same guys as who made The Great War on YouTube, that kind of followed World War I week by week. They do it for World War II now. They started their own company, and now they kind of do it on their own. All right, so British national morale is being hit by the loss of Belgium. Meanwhile, Italian shipping is preparing for war. Italy is declaring war on the Allies. Coal strikes are continuing in Australia, so that's impacting Australian income, MPPs. You can see those explosions represent the fact that local industry is being destroyed by those strikes. Did the Chinese accomplish much with those offensives? They did actually win a major victory against the Japanese near Changsha. Japanese lost over 40,000 casualties, and they did sort of stymie some of the Japanese late summer 1939 offensives. All right, so basically this event is asking if we want to complete work on the Roma battleship or if we want to convert it to an aircraft carrier. If we convert it to an aircraft carrier, it'll cost us 25 industrial points for 8 turns, and as much as I would like the Italians to have an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean, I'm going to continue its construction as a battleship for 2 major reasons. One, we can assist the naval forces with land-based bombers against the British Navy to kind of act like an aircraft carrier, and 2, 25 points per turn is a lot of money. Italy doesn't have that much money to kind of throw around. So I think we kind of have to accept the fact that we just don't have that kind of money. All right, so we're at war with France. We're going to start driving on Marseille in the south. I'm going to put my army unit here and my tank unit here in the south driving on Marseille, while we'll have some corps drive on Lyon. Slitherine, advance there. We're going to go ahead and bomb Marseille. So that should impact enemy morale. Let's see here, their morale is 36%. The morale after bombing again is down to 35%. We'll hit them with tanks. Italian tanks kind of suck. They actually get morale for inflicting casualties on our tanks. And it goes up again for engaging our infantry. That's interesting. All right, meanwhile, in North Africa, there appears to be a sandstorm over here. Our headquarters unit is now in place. So we're going to go ahead and reinforce it. And move some of our troops here to the border. I guess that's telling me they're crossing into British Egypt, but I don't really think that's the case, really. I mean, no troops have crossed the border yet. All right, so that does it for Italy here. We're on June 6th of 1940. Now the question is, how do we break through the Allied positions here? Obviously, there's a core here, so that'll be a more vulnerable spot. So I think we focus on the weak spot. You can see here French interceptors. Okay, so that bombing raid did basically nothing. But we can, again, lower the enemy morale if we continue to hit them. Also, we can reduce the enemy fighter strength, although we're losing some aircraft ourselves. So that bombing raid was successful. We'll launch a raid against this army here, because I'm assuming we're going to want to try and breach the enemy on a multiple hex front. I do wonder if we're wearing down these interceptors at all. Alright, so our other Stuka unit here is going to hit these guys. The enemy fighters are all worn out by this point. And I can't quite reach that core up there, so we'll just bomb these guys. So those bombing raids, these fighters are too exhausted, I think, to strafe. Alright, so these guys' morale is down to 18%, and then these guys are at 23%. So quite a hit to their morale. We're going to work around their rear with this armored unit here. It's going to drive to Amiens in the rear. We're going to go ahead and attack these guys from the rear. And again, because they're armor, we can attack them twice. We can actually work this armored unit around as well. So these guys have broken through toward Paris. This armored unit can also move that direction. Can hit these enemy fighters, hopefully destroy this air unit here. So we're advancing on Paris here, kind of bypassing this enemy infantry unit. Can we get any armies adjacent? We can if we do this. So we'll move... No, we can't. What? Oh, yes, we can. Okay. So we'll do that. Move these guys here, these guys here. So 1 to 2, 1 to 2. All right, so these guys can attack twice because they're mechanized infantry. So this French army, can we destroy it? All right, so we drove them back. I don't think I have anything else that can advance to actually finish them off. So they'll probably reinforce those guys. Unless, yeah, those fighters can't reach. So we'll reinforce those fighters. We're going to lose 60% of their experience, unfortunately, to get them back up to full strength. Alright, meanwhile, this headquarters, we just don't have a wide enough front at the moment. These French troops are cut off. This unit here is surrounded, so their supply is 8. I don't really feel the need to attack them. I'm just going to let the supply kind of drop down. We'll move some of our troops south here. Do we want to try and attack these guys and expand the front a little bit? These guys kind of advanced into a bit of a bad strategic position for them. Wow, 2-1. All right. Okay, we'll move these guys back, these guys forward. Alright. So we weaken this corps here pretty badly. We weaken this army very badly. And now we're closing on Paris. We can attack with these guys one more time. Interesting enough, their supply doesn't seem to drop when you engage them. And I would think shooting and fighting would use up supplies, but maybe not. Anyway, so we've got those 2 units in Warsaw. We'll move one of these guys up to the north, to Memel. And I think the rest of these guys are going to stay in place. Actually, this Slovakian army needs to reinforce. Meanwhile, swinging over to the Pacific Theater. We've got these guys cut off. They have no supply at the moment, so they should be relatively easy to deal with. Okay, so that Chinese city fell. How the fuck do I advance on them? I'm just trying to get some soldiers up here to deal with Changsha. I mean, I'd like to surround and destroy them, but I can't. The frickin' terrain is half of its mud right now. I'm assuming it's the monsoon season or something to that effect. Let's get these guys up a little bit closer to the front. Alright, we'll attack these guys. Alright, those reinforcements coming up. Alright, try and bomb these guys into submission. Should have hit them with bombers before I sent my infantry forward. I don't know why I'm bringing infantry forward there, but I am, or garrison soldiers forward there, but I am. Wow. Shattered. A Chinese corps wiped out. Can we move these guys? Alright, so we just did make a slight advance in the north. Should we? I really don't want to advance in Yenin for fear of what it'll do to the communist point of view. These guys can't hit. Oh, I have them in air... Oh, naval tactical, naval tactical. So you've got different modes. Cap modes. Raider modes. I don't know what the difference between these two tacticals is. One might be torpedo, one might be... Not really sure, but I think I've not been using my... naval forces to their capacity. In any event, I'm going to pull this carrier back, who suffered some casualties, so he can reinforce his air wings. Same over here. Actually, I think everybody can use some reinforcements in their air wings. So we'll pull the carriers back, because there's not much more to do for them in China, I don't think. I could attack there, but I don't want to quite yet. So we'll see what we can do next turn, but that's going to do it for the June turn. We're going to move forward to the beginning of July. French morale falls as the German approaches Paris. French ministers are having success in the USSR. Victory over China may not be enough, or will not be enough. Direct more of our income toward preparing for the conflict with the Western Allies. German blitzkrieg continues toward Paris. You can see our income statements there. And again, I'm kind of banking my money for the moment, and we'll kind of go on a spending spree once the invasion of France is done. Meanwhile, the USSR is annexing the Baltic states, so Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia have all been absorbed into the USSR. The French are falling back on Paris, or at least some of them are. Presumably operating back to the rear, maybe hoping for another Battle of the Marne type victory, a miracle on the Marne. The Chinese seem to be falling back slightly as well. They've got a couple of forward units that they've reinforced, but they seem to be forming a straight line here between Changchao and just kind of a north to south line here, maybe more defensible. British tactical bombers are getting into the swing of things here. Our fighters are really getting shot up. Meanwhile, I haven't done anything in the East African territories of Italy. I don't think there's anything we can do to save those, so I'm kind of just holding soldiers in place and allowing them to fight on the defensive. You can see that garrison unit there was just attacked by the Chinese, perhaps sensing a weak point in the line. The invasion of Ethiopia has begun by the British. Any casualties we can inflict there will be a victory, in my opinion. Because those Italian soldiers are lost, for sure. Shit. The Royal Navy, or the French Navy, or whatever that is attacking Ethiopia from the air. British Empire is amending its convoy routes to deal with the fact that they're now at war with Italy as well. I was hoping to use that destroyer as sort of a commerce order. You know what I completely forgot to do last turn was move my naval units. Now they're probably all going to get destroyed because I held them in place. Or maybe not. Alright, well, maybe not. Alright, so we need to set these guys to raider mode. We'll move them onto this convoy route. These guys, frankly, I don't want to set to raider mode. I just want to get them home. They're very badly damaged. Looks like the British no longer have a convoy moving through Gibraltar now that Italy's in the war. Okay, these guys are not even on hunt mode. The little red dot represents the fact that they're not operating offensively. Pull these guys back to home waters where they can completely rest and replenish. And we'll continue the drive on Paris. Alright, so these guys will move in. Can our dive bombers hit Paris? No, they can't. Shit. So we've continued the advance into western France to kind of widen the front here. We've taken Le Havre, driving on Caen. Some of our soldiers have suffered pretty heavy casualties. We have to figure out how to deal with that. Really? Alright, so can we undo that? No? Shit. Alright, these guys need to reinforce. They're going to lose almost all of their experience, but they're almost all shot down. Same for these guys. Alright, these fighters will fly over here. I don't know if we'll take Paris here. We may have to wait till the end of the month to take it. Alright, so our Stuka's finished off that infantry unit. We're going to fly him closer to the front. Alright, so we've got at least one Stuka in range of Paris. Can we fly these guys to Brussels now that they've bombed? No. Get these guys over here. So we should have a sufficient amount of aircraft in range of Paris. I don't think there's any way for me to take Paris this turn without air support. These guys need reinforcements. Okay, so we destroyed the French soldiers that were cut off in Lille. All right. So just sort of shuffling troops around to get as many troops adjacent to Paris as we can. Kind of curious. No, there's no way we're going to get that done this turn. All right. I guess attack the French headquarters there. Because it's about the only thing you can meaningfully damage. I don't want to take the casualties engaging these French tanks. I'll happily stay on the defensive there. We'll let France live one more turn. Meanwhile, can we reinforce these guys yet? No. Actually, we'll keep these guys at El Agheila and Benghazi. A slight invasion into Egypt. Just feeling our way out here toward the Qattara Depression. Or however you pronounce that. So our headquarters is going to go in Tobruk. We'll form a line here of our two armies. Actually, we have two armies in North Africa and one corps. So we did send some reinforcements there. Meanwhile, in the... Reinforce, can these guys go up to max? Let's see here. Well, that was worthless. Okay, I guess these guys will all just kind of hold their position. We'll spend a little bit of money reinforcing those guys. Maybe we can advance these guys toward Khartoum, cause the British a little bit of a headache. But I think that'll probably about do it here for our... Well, we still have to move our Italian forces over here. Okay... So let's go ahead and bomb these guys. Their morale is 69, so we'll go ahead and bomb them. Their morale drops to 34. Go ahead and strafe them. See if their morale drops to 33. Alright, so we'll hit them. Alright, so heavy casualties for those guys. Meanwhile, our infantry is advancing on Lyon. So, yeah. But I think we'll just leave that as that for that turn. Let's go over to Japan. Can we advance these guys into the rear now? We can. Shit, I didn't want to do that. Shit. Alright. Alright, so let's bomb these guys in Changsha. We'll use some enemy aircraft or friendly aircraft interceptors. Ah, okay. So we did get some bombing success against them. Our tactical bombers also did a little bit of damage. And 4-0 it's claiming. We got 5. Can we finish off Changsha? Yes! Major victory. The seizure of Changsha in the south. Meanwhile, driving on Kui Chau, or however you pronounce the name of that city here. in the southwest. So our southern offensive, much more successful than I think I had originally anticipated it would be. As we're driving inland, we probably need some more garrisons here to deal with Canton, Nanning, and a few of these other cities. Let's actually move these guys over to Canton. This garrison here will move into Nanjing. Oh, nice. We can hit the Flying Tigers, and we finish the Flying Tigers off there. We're flanking the entire Chinese position here near the Wu Gorge. Now, there's going to be some terrain that's probably going to prevent us from getting into Chongqing easily. But we're driving. We basically eliminated the Chinese threat here in the south, I think. And we're now driving inland. All right, so what else do we have to deal with here? Let's pull these guys back. I'm going to reform my line, or refuse my line. Just kind of generally consolidating my positions here. Okay. Hey, Neuhauser. It goes... No, well, or whatever it goes. Whatever it is. So Japan, I think, is doing well down there. How about these guys? Do they reinforce here? Elite reinforcements. Carrier. It's going to cost 35 MPPs, really? Alright, so we're going to pull some of these ships back and away. Alright, so the rest of our carrier fleet should be able to reinforce next turn. And I think we're going to go ahead and let this turn pass. All right, everybody. I think we're going to go ahead and here and jump in and end this episode here, part 5 of our look at Strategic Command, World War II, World at War, out by Fury Software and published by Matrix and Slitherine Games. This game just came out today and puts you in the shoes of either the Axis or the Allies on the grand strategic layer during World War II, from the Pacific to the European theater, allowing you to make various decisions, altering the course of history or following history in various different event triggers that come up. So far, we've had success driving toward Paris. We haven't taken Paris yet, but we're driving toward it. And we've also had some success here in the south of China. All things going reasonably well for the Axis so far, perhaps a little bit behind schedule or about to be a little bit behind schedule in the invasion of France, but nothing that I think is too detrimental. In any event, guys, we're going to cut this episode off here, and we'll pick up the next one tomorrow. I hope you guys are enjoying the series, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.